The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 35, The Power of Thoughts, Feelings, and the Will. Sending and receiving thoughts and its effects. Thus saith the Lord. There are forces invisible to human sight and unknown to the science of man which constantly influence your lives. There are those which are good and those which are bad, some which give you health and others which cause illnesses. There are some filled with light and others with darkness. From where do these forces arise? From the spirit, disciples, from the mind and from feelings. Every incarnated and disincarnated spirit emanates vibrations when it thinks. Every emotion exerts an influence. You can be sure that the world is filled with these vibrations. Now, you can easily understand that healthy forces and influences must exist where people think and dwell in goodness, and that where they live outside of the laws and regulations, which are determined by goodness, justice, and love, there must exist evil forces. Both of them invade the spiritual space, struggle with each other, and influence the sensitivity of men. If men know how to distinguish between them, they take the good inspirations and reject those influences which are evil. But if the men are weak and not prepared in the practice of righteousness, they are unable to confront these vibrations and are in danger of succumbing to their dominance and becoming slaves of evil. Everything spiritual in the universe is a fountain of light, visible or invisible to you. That light is strength, it is power, it is inspiration. From the ideas, words, and deeds, light also emanates, according to the purity and elevation that they have. The more elevated the idea or the deed, the more delicate and gentle the vibration and inspiration which emits from it, although it is also more difficult for the slaves of materialism to perceive it. Nevertheless, the effect which is exerted spiritually by the thoughts and elevated deeds is great. When from your mind emerges an idea or a thought of light, in that manner it reaches its objective to fulfill its beneficial mission. If instead of kind thoughts, impure emanations surge from your mind, they will only cause harm wherever you send them. I say to you that thoughts are deeds, and as such they remain written in the book which exists in your conscience. If your deeds are good or bad, you will receive multiplied what you wished for your brethren. But it is better to do yourself some harm than to wish it upon one of your fellow men. That is why during the second era I said to you, what you sow, you reap. For it is necessary that you be aware of your experiences in this life, and that you remember that your harvest will give you back the same seed that you sowed, although multiplied. O humanity, how you have neglected to meditate, feel, or live the teachings of your master. That is why I have told you that you did not know the strength of thought. Today I tell you that thought is voice and hearing. It is a weapon and a shield. It creates and destroys. Thought cuts the distance to those who are absent, and finds those who had been lost. Know your weapons before the battle commences. He who knows how to prepare himself will be strong and invincible. It will not be necessary to wield mortal weapons. Your sword will be thought pure and clean, your shield faith and charity. Even in silence, your voice will resound as a message of peace. Keep vigil, being careful not to stain your mind with impure thoughts. The mind is creative, and when you give space to an evil idea, it will lead you to the lower planes, and your spirit will be surrounded with darkness. The joint thoughts of a multitude will be capable of striking down evil influences, toppling idols from their pedestals. Today, I can assure you that in the future communication through thought will reach great development. And through it many barriers that today separate peoples and worlds will disappear. If you learn to communicate in thought with your Father, if you achieve spirit-to-spirit communication, what difficulty could there then be in communicating with your brothers, be they visible or invisible, present or absent, and nearby or far away? Your thoughts always come to me, no matter how imperfect they are, and I hear your prayers even if they lack the faith that you should always put in them. This is because my spirit captures the vibrations and feelings of all beings. However, men who find themselves distanced from others by their selfishness, and distanced from spiritual life by the materialism that they have allowed themselves to be wrapped in today, are not prepared to communicate with others by means of their thoughts. Nonetheless, I tell you that it is necessary to begin to educate your spirit. To do so, speak to the spirits, even if you have no apparent answer from them. Tomorrow, when you have all learned to give, you will begin to have indications of a spiritual communication never imagined by men. The strength of feelings, desires, and fears. At every moment you are vibrating mentally and spiritually, but most of the time you radiate selfishness, hatred, violence, vanity, and the lower passions. You wound and feel it when you are wounded, but you do not love, and so you do not feel it when you are loved. So, with your insane thoughts, you go saturating the environment in which you live with pain, filling your existence with ill feeling. I tell you, saturate all with peace, harmony, and love, and then you will be happy. Never think ill of those who do not love you, nor become exasperated with those who do not understand you. For even the most closely held of the feelings you have toward your fellow men is transmitted with your thought. Do you see those men who seek power through force? Very soon you will see them convinced of their error. I will demonstrate to them that solely through goodness, which is the emanation of love, one can be truly great and powerful. You need faith to raise your faces, smiling with hope, and look forward to the future without doubts or mistrust, for I am in your future. How often are you ill because you think you are, because you believe every step dogged by fate or menaced by pain? That is when your mind attracts the darkness, and with it surround your material life and your spiritual journey. Yet, here you have me to reignite your faith in life, truth, eternity, and perfect peace, and to teach you to once more to attract the light to yourselves. The lack of self-control. Man has two weaknesses. He makes no effort to remove his blindfolds in order to study my elevated spiritual teachings, nor does he want to separate himself from those material pleasures that prevent his spiritual progress. Thus, he has become a slave to his selfish pleasures. His spirit is like a paralyzed human being who makes no effort to heal himself. In all walks of life, wherever I look, I see the majority of men as being weak. That you do not have enough strength of will to escape from the mire in which you find yourselves, or from the laziness caused by the bonds that tie you to the material, and that it is the beginning of all vices and errors. But men do not wish to make use of the power which they have been given, which is the will that should be the supreme legislator, which ought to make itself obeyed, and in concert with reason, fight strength against strength, empire against empire, on one side the passions and desires, on the others reason and will, until the day reason and will win the final battle and you can say that you are free. Then you can be the great prophets, the great enlightened ones, the supermen. Then you will be able to live among the beasts and play with reptiles, for truly I tell you, it is the faults covering you that make you fear these little brothers of yours, and it is because of these they attack you. Yet, if you observe men, you will see there are men who are fiercer than tigers and more poisonous than cobras.